Welcome to the new Business Edu podcast. My name is Fabio Oliveira, and in this episode, we will talk about cybersecurity with Keith Maher. Keith is an experienced executive director, CDO, IT director, and enterprise architect with a track record of delivering business-aligned transformation in large organizations with complex operating environments. He is the lead enterprise information security architect at John Lewis Partners and the executive director at Marketing Glass. Cybersecurity, until recent years, has been a theme to be treated and debated exclusively by the information technology department. However, advancements in digital technologies, adoptions, and regulations such as DPA in England and GDPR in Europe bring compliance obligations for companies, have added this topic to the board of directors' spotlight. In the UK alone, to contextualize, almost half of the businesses and a quarter of charities reporting having cyber attacks in 2020. Data breach attacks for medium companies happened for 68% and 75% of the large business monitored by the official Statistics UK. Among the 46% of business that identify breaches or attacks, 19% have experienced a material outcome, losing money or data, and 39% were negatively impacted, for example, requiring new measures, having staff time diverted, or causing wider business disruptions. Keith, thanks for having us and talk about this important topic, and I believe most of people doesn't know much about this. Let's start talking about what are the primary sources of cyber attacks and what are the significant vulnerabilities of companies you have been working at.
In my opinion, the two key sources of cyber attack are, and always will be, firstly, the human being. Where a human being has admin privileges or rights to gain access to a computer system, they will always be a risk. And for this reason, the human being will always be the primary challenge. The reason why this is one of the key challenges for hackers is because they want to get access to systems, and the easiest way to do it is through a username and password. And typically through online presence such as LinkedIn nowadays, hacker organizations can Google you to understand what your role is in the organization that you work in, and they can then discern what kind of privileges you will have in that organization. Then that moves us on to the second source of cyber attack. Once somebody has, or a hacker organization has achieved a threat vector, which is how they're going to enter your organization, for example through a username and password, they will then gain access to your organization and move laterally through your environment to understand and gain access to systems that they obviously shouldn't be able to. So for example, a hacker may wish to move through the system and set itself up as a bogus supplier and pay themselves £1 million into a foreign bank account. The key vulnerabilities in the companies that I've been working for are numerous. Typically the challenge to date is that organizations are moving very quickly towards the cloud. However, they're not investing in cloud security at the right pace. Quite typically, there is a view that software as a service capability or even platform as a service capability is secure by design and secure in the proposal that's provided. However, this is commonly inaccurate because the security has to marry together between the third-party provider and the organization providing it.
It seems that digital intelligence and education of the executives and workforce are pivotal for better cybersecurity. And this problem, Keith, is global. In Brazil, there were up to 2.6 billion cyber attacks in 2020. Public institutions and private institutions are hiring insurance policies that together surpass £3 million. With that said, how can top management team members be prepared for this scenario of increasing digitalization and cyber risks?
Firstly, I would advise that the board premeditate the growth areas in the organization. Therefore, if there is a business plan or a business strategy to expand into certain areas, the strategy needs to be created in association to an information cybersecurity strategy to understand the associated risks. In order to do this, I would recommend that you seek the assistance of an intelligence provider who can help you understand and measure your risk posture in the organization. So for example, if you're moving into a certain product area, it may offer a greater risk from a cybersecurity perspective because the products have more value, for example. Then what you do once you've measured your risk posture is create and execute a strategy that mitigates risk and the threat to the organization.
Great insights, Keith. And what are the defense mechanisms that companies can adopt to strengthen their cybersecurity?
Firstly, I would always say develop a strategy so there is a comprehension of the organization's trajectory. Secondly, employ specialists who can help mitigate the risk. For example, there are organizations who can assist with assessing the organization's risk posture and make recommendations. Thirdly, outsource to providers with specialist skills in that particular sector. I have seen on a frequent basis where organizations such as retailers have a really large security function, but in reality that organization's role is to retail. Therefore, these organizations need to learn to utilize the skills of third parties. Fourthly, collaboration in the industry. There are several industry bodies available such as the Cloud Security Alliance, etc., who will allow you to join and collaborate upon the development of technologies to protect organizations. And fifthly, build your own security team and perform threat and vulnerability assessments to understand your level of risk. Once a vulnerability assessment has been performed, those risks can be mitigated.
What questions or KPIs board members can make or have to ensure their companies are executing cybersecurity strategies?
It is always extremely helpful to have a plan. And with a plan, you need to have a framework and an approach. Organizations that I've seen to date utilize one of the standard frameworks such as NIST or ISF from the Standard of Good Practice. Utilizing these particular frameworks gives a 360-degree comprehensive view of information security posture. Understanding these particular frameworks and employing them in organizations and at an adaptable level and not just verbatim really do help organizations understand its risk posture and where it needs to mitigate these challenges. From a KPI perspective, risk is always a very good assessment. For example, in the ISF risk rating capability, there are 17 individual areas which contain very granular question sets to understand on a subjective level what are the risk areas. And from a KPI perspective moving forwards, adjusting that risk level gives a pragmatic and empirical level of evidence in order to demonstrate an organization's ability to manage its risk.
Keith, there is evidence that board members and management still consider cybersecurity as an operational task delegated to a committee or the IT department. What are the risks of this approach?
This is quite true, and I have observed on a frequent basis cybersecurity delegated to IT departments, etc. And it's going the wrong way. I'm not seeing it increased in organizations in time. In 2021, I am still seeing organizations move security from business units into technology units. The key risks of this approach demonstrate that information security is a tactical and not a strategic capability. Information security needs to be able to understand the business strategy to protect the business's key information assets as it expands across its regions and across its various markets. If information security is not employed with that capability in the outset, it means that the business risk will be taken without information security understood as a risk as well.
While board members' lack of digital skills, including cybersecurity, seems to constrain approximation and correct level of engagement with information technology specialists, the information technology specialist seems to lack communication skills to engage with higher hierarchic levels in the company. How can leadership change this status?
Well, in years gone by, there was the appointment of the Chief Digital Officer, wasn't there, in order to bring in a commercial leader who could understand the technical feasibility of developing digital transformation into an organization. Chief Digital Officers, though, are falling quickly out of favour because they are marketing-led and not necessarily capability-based. In order for leadership to be able to change this status of the conflicting interaction between technologists and leadership levels, there needs to be a clear plan. If an organization can demonstrate that it wants to move into certain markets, I don't know, for example, financial services. If an organization, for example, were to state, we're moving into financial services, what are the impacts? Is it feasible? Then the technology department, the IT department, can react to that effectively. They can even put together a strategy, a plan, a portfolio, and an investment profile as well. But only under the correct form of leadership and informing people and informing departments what is required of them can this clarification occur. It's important to understand that cybersecurity is actually a subset of information security, because information security is the whole capability that encompasses the organization, whereas cybersecurity is the technology enabler or protector. There is a constant and ongoing challenge with the growth of technologies in the marketplace, because every time a change is invoked in an organization through a technology, a threat is invoked. Therefore, as change occurs, information security and cybersecurity have to be at the heart of each individual performing the change.
Keith, thanks for sharing your experience with us. I am positive the audience has learned a lot about this very important topic for the management of the digital ecosystem. We are all into it. Visit our YouTube channel, New Business Edu, to learn more about the topics and terms used in this interview. And stay tuned for the next episode. We'll meet soon again. Bye!